So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. We are taking a look at probio and probiotics and gut health today. So very exciting and also very important, because you know what, when your digestion is not great, we feel it, don't we? We feel not as energized as we want. We don't think clearly, and we quite often don't feel so well. So let's take a look at why that is. So if you don't know me, my name is Vicky Jamieson. I'm a natural anti-aging specialist. I help women with perimenopause and menopause and hormonal changes, as well as being a qualified beauty therapist. I've had a beauty salon for nearly 30 years and also trained as a holistic aromatherapist. So it's kind of marrying all those things together. And how I became interested a lot in gut health was a bit twofold. One was I was seeing clients basically come to me for beauty sessions, being stressed out, and then having gut issues. So things coming up on their skin that were, as it turned out, gut issues that they found out later on. Then in my 40s, I contracted a parasite and then went through a whole lot of gut issues myself, ending up now with irritable bowel and food allergies. So I am very aware of how we feel, and we don't feel great when our gut is out of balance. So just a disclaimer before we go on, the following information is intended for general information purposes only and should not be interpreted as medical advice. Please see a professional medical as a consultation or medical practitioner. So you can have a wee looky through that information, but basically we're here to share our experience, customers' treatments and what they have experienced and their testimonials, but you have to go back to your qualified healthcare professional for any advice. So this is what we're going to be sharing today. So understanding what gut health is. So you hear that term all the time, but what does it mean? Keeping a healthy gut, what our point of difference as LifeVantage is, and what you can do knowing the information that we're going to share tonight. So let's get started on understanding what gut health is. So you may have probably heard that, and I'm just going to move my, I can't move my screen, move my thing. Today, so all health begins in the gut. So basically that goes back to what I just said earlier about when you're not feeling well. It's quite often when your gut bacteria are out. So if you think back to maybe a time when you had gastro and then you're sort of starting to come right and you feel weak, don't you? And you feel like you can't quite cope with eating the foods that you normally would eat. So you have to start slowly integrating, from maybe bone broth and soup into more heartier foods. So what Hippocrates has said is that if we don't treat our gut well, it's going to create a lot of issues for us in the future, basically. So what is our digestive system and why is it vital for our health? So basically what your digestive system is taking food in from anything we consume. So food and drinks, just remember that, food and drinks, anything we consume by mouth, and it's making it into nutrients or fuel for the body. So it's going to break down those things like proteins into amino acids, fats into glycerol, which is how we get our energy, and carbohydrates into simple sugars. So that's its job. And it's filled with microorganisms that help it do that. And it does those microorganisms or bacteria. So there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, and we need both. And we say good and bad, but we do need both. It's when they get out of balance that problems arise. And so this is what we were trying to avoid, particularly as we get older, things start to change. So I don't know if anyone's heard that term microbiome. Maybe put a little one in the thing. Have you heard of microbiome? Or is that a new word? No, you haven't. So all that means is it's the community or the group of microorganisms. So that bacteria, the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, that work in unison together. So when they're balanced, we feel great. Our moods are great. Our tummy's great. We digest our food. We have energy. But when it's out of whack, that's when we start to not feel great. So it's responsible for our immune health, our heart, weight, stress levels, things like that. So it's not just nutrients and fueling. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. So let me see if I can get this video on.
Did you know that you are not made up of only human cells? Some estimates suggest you actually contain more foreign cells than your own. These foreign cells include a variety of microorganisms like fungi, small single-celled animal-like organisms called protozoa, bacteria, and even viruses. But not the creepy, crawly, scary ones you tend to think of, but rather healthy, essential microorganisms you absolutely need to survive, thrive, and live a life full of health. Collectively, this ecosystem is known as your microbiome. Just like in nature, a healthy ecosystem means every organism is interacting in a balanced, harmonious, and healthy way. Humans, with their incredible variety of microbes and cells, are the exact same. When your microbiome is healthy and balanced, this intricate ecosystem works at its best and helps you stay healthy. But maintaining a healthy microbiome is easier said than done. Simple things like everyday stress, poor diet, overuse of antibiotics and other medications, environmental toxins, lack of sleep, travel, and not exercising all can disrupt the harmony of your microbiome. Simple things like eating a healthy, fiber-rich diet full of fruits and vegetables, getting enough sleep, exercising, consuming fermented foods, and even supplementing with these things can be great ways to support your microbiome. Caring for this intricate ecosystem is important. Support it so it can support you back and help you enjoy the healthy life you were meant to live.
Amazing, isn't it, how much it's responsible for our healthy microbiome? So I don't know if anyone's heard of this term, the second brain. Maybe you can put a 2 in the chat. So that's our gut-brain axis or second brain. So it's also that mood and immunity side of the gut that is responsible for making us function. So on a healthy side of things, you can see on that left-hand side, it's controlled by our nervous system, and that some of that bacteria that we have in our gut helps the communication between this gut and brain barrier. So as opposed to on the right-hand side, when things get out of whack, if you look at that little cell and things, that's your little bacteria, when there's too much bad bacteria and not enough good bacteria, you don't get the right signals from the gut into the brain, and that's when we get that stress and disease or alterations in behavior and cognitive function. So this can affect memory, recall, feelings of distress. We can't work and function quite so well from a working perspective as much as we want to remember things. So it has and stress is the other thing. So immunity plays a big part in that kind of thing. And those all are at the same areas in the brain that gut and brain talk to each other from. So this is where it's really important to get this balance right. So signs of a healthy gut, because we want to know when we're feeling good, don't we? Regular and pain-free bowel movements, consistent energy, and that's a really key thing. So if you're finding you're having highs and lows and perhaps a bit tired in the afternoon, that can be a sign, or very lethargic. Normal amounts of gas and bloating. So if you know someone, or if you're someone that eats a big meal and then feels really full afterwards and you get a lot of bloating, so that's actually a sign that things are not quite right. Healthy bowel transit time. There is such a thing. as think movement through all those passages. So getting food in and then eliminating the residue. Mental clarity, which we just spoke about, and then healthy reactions to food and stress. So that is all responsible for, from these bacteria. So what are the causes of gut problems in the first place? So many of those things that were in the video, you will see poor diet, low fiber. So in actual fact, we need about 25 grams of fiber per day to keep our gut healthy. Not exercising enough. Again, exercise works on that motility. So from the time things enter to the time things exit, as far as toxins go, we need things to help it along its way, and exercise plays a really important role in that. Eating lots of dairy products can sometimes irritate for some people, not everyone. And stress. So that's that gut-brain barrier relationship, how we feel. If you think about when you're stressed, you sometimes don't feel hungry, or you might feel sick to your stomach. That's all over time, when it's consistent, actually breaks down the barrier. And so it's thinning the barrier, and it's also disrupting that good and bad balance. So it's keeping them out of whack. The other thing that's really common that most people don't think about is medicines. So whether that's your antacids, and so think about that if you're getting bloating from having a meal and then you take an antacid, or you get heartburn, those are actually signs that your bacteria are not good. So taking antacids makes it worse long term. So it's a matter of getting things on board, which we're going to look at in a minute, that help that. So another thing is over-the-counter medicines like anti-inflammatories, Panadols and pain relief, any of those kind of things, antacids, as well as your medications that you might get, like antibiotics. If you're constantly on antibiotics or steroids, then they will actually break down those good bacteria, so they can't be useful for your gut anymore. Pregnancy and hormones, I saw that last little thing there, actually change the pH lining in your gut. And so sometimes that, again, works on that bacteria changing slightly. So we need to make sure we're feeding it the right bacteria all the time. So here's some signs here. And basically that fatigue, allergies, autoimmune disorders is also another thing. Sugar cravings, because your bad bacteria are now more vigilant and they want sugar. So we shouldn't really have sugar cravings. That can be a really good sign. So how do we support our gut and maintain optimal health? So one of the things is obviously to put probiotics into your diet, but we're going to share a few other things here. So sleep has a very healing effect on the gut through the nervous system. So that's that gut-brain barrier we talked about earlier, and it repairs a lot of the bacteria that we needed for that transmission. Fiber, we just talked about fiber before for motility, but there's also soluble and insoluble fiber. So think of your, if you looked back to those pictures where you've got your fiber, there's your gut area rather, there's like little villi. And so dietary fiber needs to be both soluble so that it can get into all the crevices and clean out all the gunk, and then soluble and insoluble so that it actually helps sweep out the bad guys. So the toxins that we don't need and we can't convert into energy. Not taking antibiotics unnecessarily. Avoiding smoking. So again, this thins the lining of the gut, and so it changes and obviously kills good bacteria. Regular exercise, eating less sugar. And so also to look for hidden sugars. So anything out of a packet, I would encourage you to look on the label, what's the percentage of sugar that's in the packet, and be mindful about how much is also in our drinks that we're eating, and working on that stress management. So how do probiotics help? So obviously we want to have a good diet. So let's start with food sources. So here's a list of fermented products that are really good as a probiotic. And you might hear the words prebiotic and probiotic. So prebiotic is your fibers. probiotics are these foods, and basically they feed the good bacteria because they need energy to consume as well, to remake themselves and stay healthy and do all the jobs that they're meant to be doing. So if you already have a condition that's irritating your gut, so for example, with me, I am allergic to soy. So I can't have some of these products. And so a probiotic for me is essential because some of these fermented products are not possible to eat. So just think about your diet and where you're at. Getting in these foods is critical, but if you can't, then that's when your probiotics are even more essential. So let's have a look at LifeVantage ProBio, it's called, and what's different about it, because there's many probiotics on the market. So this one's really different. It has 6 key strains of beneficial bacteria, 6 billion CFUs, and that's just the international units that are used to measure the bacteria. And it restores your gut flora. So basically, that's the balance that we're wanting to keep right. It's dairy-free, gluten-free, and vegetarian. And it helps with that assimilation or conversion of energy through the gut wall. So it has a delayed release capsule, which is one of the things that makes it really unique. So to get from your mouth into your stomach and your digestive area or the rest of your gut area, it needs to go through where we actually are quite acidic. So this acidic environment can actually destroy a lot of probiotics that are on the market unless they have a time release capsule that gets them to the right area, which not many are available. So we do have this delayed release capsule. It's called DCAPS, and it ensures that the good bacteria get down to the right place and then start being absorbed and used as food. The other main difference here is we have this thing called beta-glucans or baker's yeast. And that's a key ingredient that's not in many probiotics that helps naturally boost the body's immune system. So it's working on that gut-brain barrier. I've got lots of words today that I can't say. Gut-brain barrier. And so it helps with moods, that memory, the immune system, working on all those kind of things. And so checking that out, that's also called, you might know it as Saccharomyces. That is exactly what it is, beta-glucans. And the probiotic strains that are in it, which you'll see down here, I'm not going to say all those names. If you want to do your own research, go to PubMed and then copy and paste all those in. They're all clinically proven to work on good bacteria. So these strains together, working together, have been shown to give the biggest effect for gut bacteria. So that's a little bit of our point of difference. A little bit more on here is the baker's yeast component of that, working on moods and that good balance of bacterial growth. The DCAPS, here's a little bit more information on DCAPS. It's a vegan capsule. Most vegan capsules will disintegrate very quickly as soon as you take them, so they're not actually getting to the right place. Ours, it takes 52 minutes for it to release into that part of the gut where it's doing the most good. And there's studies done on that, so it's releasing. So now that you know that little bit of information on gut health, why should you buy from LifeVantage, who has the ProBio? So some of our points of difference is that we are a leader in activation. So a little bit about the difference between activation and supplementation is supplementation, we're adding things to our diet or within vitamins. We're not that. We're not supplementation. We are activation. So the company is well known and very innovative in the nutrition field for its activation. So it's turning on genes that we naturally have in our body that start to turn off, like think of it like a dimmer switch as we get older. And it's basically keeping us working efficiently like we were 20. So that's our main point of difference. Our flagship product is a product called Pro Tandem NRF2. And of course, we have a new liquid collagen that was released this year in March that has done record sales in Australia and New Zealand. So the company has proven track record. It's publicly traded on the NASDAQ. It's been around for over 20 years. One of the things that's really great about being publicly traded is that we have a board of directors. And on that board of directors is Erin Brockovich. So not only a woman, but someone who's good for keeping everything honky-dory, very into the environment, women's health, and working through, keeping everything, transparent. That's the word I was looking for. So these are so with ProBio, we are FDA approved and TGA approved, part of the UNPA, so it's part of that Natural Alliance, and obviously on the NASDAQ, and we're part of the Direct Selling Association. So I can't actually see those prices, but you have them on your screen because I've got something over mine. One bottle contains 30 capsules, so you can take one a day or you can take it as needed. So that is it for us today. Thank you so much for attending your Wednesday Wellness